Testing. Hello. Hello. So what I'm doing today is I'm just going down my file of stuff that needs to get done, although this doesn't look like it's most updated. Let me make sure this is updated. Yeah, it wasn't. All right. Okay. So, you know, every time I'm programming along and run into a little problem or something that doesn't seem ideal, I always note it down so I can fix it later, which is only a good strategy if you actually do go back and fix it later. And so now is one of those times. You know, this file's got, it's probably got over 100 different notes in it of things that need to happen. So if I can chew through a few of those today, that'll be good. I already fixed a couple earlier today off stream, but I figured I'd do a few on stream. And of course, the point of this is that it is much better before you add new functionality or make the language semantics more complicated if the old stuff is nailed down and working well, right? The more problems that are accumulating into the future, like the more rickety the vehicle is. You don't want a rickety vehicle, especially if you're using it to program from day to day for something you actually want to ship like I am. So that's the situation. I'm just going to go through this file, and I don't necessarily have any plan for what I'm going to do. Maybe the few things at the top I sort of previously put there because they seemed both important and relatively tractable for, you know, I haven't worked on the compiler in at least 6 weeks or something, or possibly more. So, you know, it's a good way to warm up again and get back into it. Yes, thanks. Yeah, one of the reasons why I haven't been working on the compiler for 6 weeks or more is that, probably more, is that I've been working hard on the iOS release of The Witness, which we finally released. Okay, so I have this note here. So a lot of the notes in this file just got added at some random time in the past. Sometimes they may have even been fixed, like before you even get to them. So I have this one at the top where, so if I declare to destroy as a pointer to an array of pointered entities, this generates an internal compiler error. And then this one is a separate thing. So I'm going to look at this top one, and I'm going to see if that in fact, let me see if I have text of that, because I'm not sure where in the program or in what program even that this happened. So let me just say, search for that. Nowhere. All right. Well, that looks like it goes in Entity Manager, so let's look in Sokoban. Well, let me look for a to destroy. Probably not that one. Doesn't seem like that one. That one is not even in use, so we can get rid of that right now and make sure it still compiles. So well, let me just put that in Entity Manager somewhere and just see. I'm going to say, I feel like this was actually from a random demo program or a random test program. So let's do that. And before I go crazy, let me, because LLVM is slow enough that, let me switch back to that. All right, so that's faster. And it still runs. All right, so to destroy equals pointer to entities to clean up. Let's try that. Well, that's not an internal compiler error anymore. Let me see. Cannot implicitly cast an expandable array down to a slice when dealing with the pointer of the array. You have to do it yourself currently. Yeah. Okay, well, let's just try this. And that doesn't generate an internal compiler error. I think I'm just going to check that off the list. I think that was probably fixed. So that's fine. An enum inside of if false stalls. Let's try that. I'm going to say if false. So first we go print hi. That should be fine. So hash if is the compile time if, so no surprise there. Now, Emacs, foo's and enum A and B, right? So internal compiler error is something exporting something that has not yet been inferred. Well, that's not the error that I reported. It's still a problem. Hold on. My browser window that I'm using to monitor the chat has just died. So I'm killing the browser. I'm coming back. And it's still... All right, Chrome is just dead on this entire computer. Am I out of disk space or something? Sorry for the delay, hold on. Now I've got plenty of disk space. Well, I guess I'm using Internet Explorer now. What the hell's going on? I think my entire computer's been hacked. Alright. I can't see anything that anyone is saying, so I'm rebooting the laptop. And I'll try to say something intelligent. Until such time as it is rebooted. In fact, I'm just going to hard power off it. If I even can do that without it sleeping, because Laptops think they're too smart. No, that suspended it. I didn't want to suspend it. Skip disk check. There we go. I guess I did power off it. All right, at least Windows reboots fast now. Okay, well that was exciting. I'm back in the chat room. Anything people were typing has disappeared. So if you want me to read something, then put it back. Okay, so the deal, what's going on here right now, I'm not actually sure if this has anything to do with the if false yet. So let me just see what this is. Yeah, okay, so that works. That doesn't work. Exporting something that is not yet been inferred. So what's probably happening? So when you declare an enum, it gets, in the way that the compiler has this dependency graph that I've talked about before, the enum gets scheduled asynchronously, and that is conflicting somehow with the system that gives you compile time metadata. The compile time metadata, it's trying to export data about what's in this procedure probably, and this enum is not ready. That's my theory. I'm going to test that theory now. Font size is a little small. All right. Dude, I don't know where my .emacs file is now because it wouldn't let me put it in the root folder. And is it here? Okay. Okay, that's bigger. All right, so now I have to build this and do all this annoying stuff in Visual Studio debugging. Okay, so that's fine, and we want to break in the error report for something that has not yet been inferred. Where's my find window? Is it like popping up on my second display or something? What which is turned off, by the way. The hell is going on? Where's my find window? Okay, that's current document find. All right, the Control-Shift-F window is just not here. It's just not coming up. But the Control-F window will work. Everybody is fired. Okay. Like they have a giant team working on this program forever, and it always just gets worse. Entire solution. Yeah, that's what I want. And I'm looking for something that has not yet been inferred. All right. So, why does everybody make a big deal out of the loud typing? That's normal typing. It's normal, it's not loud. Okay. So, I don't know how to make the font in the debugging window bigger, and I'm not even going to try because this program is a piece of crap. Okay, line 267 is what we're trying to export. No surprise, it's the enum. Line 267. So yep, asked enum is the type. And we got here by exporting a declaration. Right. So we're exporting a procedure. Okay, so there's two things that could happen. I think the right one is that, you know, when this enum gets added to a procedure, then there needs to be a dependency. I'm moving away from using dependencies for the more complicated parts of the compiler, like the type checking and stuff. But I have this system where I can say this thing depends on this other thing, and there's an edge between them, and every time you're going to go do this operation on this thing, check the other thing to make sure it's passed that operation already. So basically, the enum, so if I go source x queued and look at that, right? So this guy is in pipe infer, whereas if I go up here to this guy has exited all the pipes, right? So normally that's fine. And in fact, if I use a member of this enum from inside this if, then it's probably fine because that'll create the dependency automatically. But because I'm not using any of these, it's like not getting generated. So where do I? I don't remember. There's add to scope. There it is. His block imperative, and there's an expression, and okay, wait, the enum. Yeah. Because the compiler is pretty complicated, I take to writing pretty long notes at times like this. We need to do this because we won't naturally get a dependency if we don't use one of the identifiers from the enum inside the block. Okay. So assert this is queued. Assert block belong body queued. Depend this thing depends on this thing, and the flag is pf, I forget what it's called, pf send messages. Hopefully that's right. Actually, I don't even, I mean, this would solve the problem, but this is, solve the problem, but it's a stronger dependency than I need. The assert find today is just that it's not inferred. We could add pf must pass infer before we message or something like that. Maybe. Oh, that was loud. All right, let's see what happens. We still get here. Interesting. Still the same place. Let me just see if I ever get there. We do get there. For this thing. Oh, I got this dependency backwards. I'm saying that the enum, this says the enum should wait for the procedure, and it's the other way around. It should be the procedure waits for the enum. Hey, all right, well, it didn't, well, I think it didn't have the same problem. Maybe it did. It had a problem. Okay. Now I've made a loop with my frickin' dependency or something that didn't exist before. This is why I moved away from dependencies, because they're not very good. Someone says they want to make their own language, but that means they inevitably have to implement the HTTP stack and all the networking stuff. No, it doesn't mean that. Yeah, as people are telling you, you could use external libraries for that. Okay. This is really annoying. So the problem, as I was typing that thing, the reason I stopped and thought about the fact that it's maybe a too strong dependency is that I'm not sure if that enum gets exported anyway. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to try it the other way, because this is clearer anyway. PF must pass actually, yeah. Yep. All right. New pipe flag. Let's see how it goes. Const u32 equals 1. This is called target. Let's see where this goes. Forgot to target here. All right, let's just see what happens this time. See, that adding a new flag is really asking for trouble in a totally different way. All right. We still have a circular dependency in pipe send messages, or well, it's a similar problem. It's not as bad. Our old problem was like blocked on 3 things, and this one is blocked on 2. Now the thing is, though, these 2 things it's blocked on are not in a pipe. Not being in a pipe means that they've either finished or been dequeued. So the question is, I assume they've been dequeued, and I'm just not handling that correctly, which would be a very simple thing. Let's see. So this now, by the way, so the problem that I started out debugging was not the one that was in the to-do list, right? Because the to-do list was complaining about exporting something that hasn't been inferred. But the bug was enum inside of if stalls, right? So this is a stall, right? This is a pipeline stall. So this is what I was actually trying to debug. So that's good. I got past a different problem to get to this problem. Okay. So we're gonna break here. I'm actually not using this as I don't do the rubber duck thing. I don't find it necessary. Like talking to people and streaming actually just slows me down a lot because I don't verbalize usually, but it's just fun to do. This is actually much slower workflow than I usually have. So I don't recommend it if, I don't recommend it for productivity. Okay. Depends on all right. So each queued here, oh, is a dep. Wait, what? I think the queued, right. It.target. We are depending on this thing. Why are we it's done. It's done. It exited the pipeline. So why are you depending on it still? That's goofy. This is send messages. So pipe flag 8, I wish I had debugging that actually showed me that, but 0, 1, 2, 4. Oh, this is 1 to the 0, which is 1, 2, 4, 8, right? So it's pf send messages. So we are stalling on a message send dependency, but we didn't add a message send dependency. We added this other thing. So, which has a totally different value. So what's happening is that now that things are happening in a different order, it's just triggering something that's been latent for a while. So why? So this pipe has one item in the input. Only one item. Let's just check it straight up. Oh. Wait, it has a ton of dependencies. Those are just the dependencies in the current pipe? What? I really, so this little debugging output that we're looking at here is meant for me only, right? It's not something that a user of the compiler is supposed to ever see. And kind of feel like see, that's so weird. Yeah, so it's waiting on these two static ifs, but they're done, man. They exited. Okay, exited. And not by being unqueued. So this part here is supposed to hit that dependency. I just want to see if pipe indexes, pipe send messages, pump pipe. I'm just adding this as debugging code so I can, because when I call pump pipe, my presumption is that it's actually going to work and clear this dependency. And if that works, then we shouldn't really be here, because we should have detected progress on the pipe. So let me just see, pump pipe, interp pipe false. So we're going to set a breakpoint there. Ah, so loud, so loud. Okay, so we're pumping the pipe. Like I said, we have 78 dependencies, but only 2 of them are in this pipe. No, what? Whoa. That just skipped right through everything. That was bananas. Should be 8. It's called flags. My flag. 8. All right. So how can we exit this loop? I don't think we can. Okay, wait. This is annoying. So we don't seem to detect anything with the appropriate flag. But here, when we get down here, I never remember what my things are called. When we get down here, pipe flags is 8. What's wrong with this picture? We must be like continuing. Oh, you know what? I didn't set a breakpoint there this time. Okay. So we're going to set a breakpoint at the exit and here. And also here, because that's the suspicious new code that I added. Okay. Okay, right, duh. So the problem is that my thing that prints out, obviously, my thing that prints out information about how things that are stalled doesn't know about this new flag that I added. So it's not reporting it to me that this is the actual stall. So what's happening is we're hitting this dependency, which is before those other ones that would be trivially cleared if we got to them. But they are not trivially cleared because we're breaking from the loop here because the target is still in infer. And he's sleeping, God. The target is sleeping on someone. Okay, so this is the actual stall. As an optimization, all these guys who pass through the compiler, like I said, I'm moving away from dependencies and more to a system where things sort of explicitly sleep on other things that they're waiting for on demand and then get awakened. And so the problem is this other guy exited the pipe. But someone's sleeping on him still, which is not good. So that's the real problem. Because basically every time you proceed through the pipeline, you're supposed to wake up anyone who's sleeping on you. And if you, where's my find window? Piece of garbage. Yeah. So you're supposed to call, no, not there. See, the other window shows me everything. Okay. Maybe, okay, my theory is he's sleeping on this guy after the guy is done for some reason. Let's check that. Not on a run directive. Sleep yield. Assert other highest pipe exited is less than pipe output C. Let's see if that fires. get rid of these now. So loud. Let me turn this down a little. Okay, that's my new assert. So I'm saying that I'm saying this guy isn't ready, I should yield on him, but that doesn't make sense because he's done. So why am I doing that? Okay, because it's an enum, and enums... Okay, this is weird. So the enum has this num members completed on it. That, of course, does the obvious thing that you would guess from its name. And that's set to 0, but the guy's members have finished. Which means, you know, so if I look at this queued, yeah, they're finished. So somehow they finished without incrementing this value. And I can imagine some ways that would happen. Here, I gotta turn on my other display and try to get my find window back because this sucks. Is it on the other? Yeah, it's popping up on the other display. Never mind that display was turned off and is not the actual display that the program was running on. Never mind that, it just goes over there. All right, so we've got our actual thing back. Okay, that's what I wanted. Never mind problems like that. We have to do UWP and Windows Store apps and make time get time not work and make you not be able to start threads because we're Microsoft. All right. People are arguing about lifetimes in the chat. All right, so include declaration in enum is not getting called. Actually, I can verify this. So this declaration has this serial number. Let's just see if this gets called for that serial number. I bet it doesn't. Nope, because we hit the assert. Okay. So I'm going to go to exit pipe. So someone is exiting him. Okay, where does include declaration in enum usually get called from? Type checking. That's slowing us down a great deal because we do type check a lot of declarations. Having the breakpoint there is just real slow. Didn't hit that either. All right. Well, let's first of all make sure eight five eight nine nine 35287. Yep. To 2B7. All right, so he shouldn't be getting unqueued. How is this guy never getting inferred? This is bananas. He's got a type. Let's look at. There's just some shortcut optimization here happening that I just don't remember. And it's causing us to skip include declaration in enum. It's the danger of optimizations. Okay, it's a declaration. It's for a variable called capital A. It's in a data declarations block, which is what an enum has. Belongs to an enum. It's queued. Its flags are 0. Highest pipe exited is pipe output C. Really? All right, well, we're just going to follow this guy every time he exits a pipe. So we're going to say breakpoint. Let's get rid of our other. We're going to say queued QS is equal to that. QS is the serial number that's on the queued. Okay. What pipe is this? Pipe infer. We're exiting pipe infer already. Huh. Maybe it's got its inferred type set on it already for some reason, and that's causing us to skip it expression inferred type. No, okay, what happens? So we're inferring this guy, which is a relatively heavyweight thing that goes through this big loop. We infer types on the root expression. Whoa, what? Where were we? Wait, what? I thought I just checked that. Expert. It's a lambda. What? All right. Wow, the rabbit hole is going deep here. So this thing is a declaration. And what we're doing here is we're going through the loop of everything that the declaration needs to infer, all the sub-expressions that have been previously flattened out into an array, and we go visit them in order in the array, and we go do infer types on them. And when we call infer types on the declaration itself, then we call that include declaration in enum. Now the problem is, for some reason, this declaration is not included in the flattened list of its own queued. So, yeah. Let me see, there's a few overloads of flatten. So we can flatten a block, an expression. All right, let's just look at the code for a second. So if it's a declaration, we don't, yep, we shouldn't, right? We flatten the expression. Probably force is set. And I don't know why. That seems like an old thing. Okay, so queued expression S 169D. Declaration S is that. All right. So skip is false, that's good. Okay, what's it? Actually, okay, so we have nothing in the flatten list yet. Now we do, because we flattened the expression. Okay, is force set? It is set. Why? I don't know. I think this is just an old thing that's wrong. But changing stuff like this is scary because who knows what's going to break. Wow. Okay, that's the only use of that variable. So I'm just going to try commenting that out. See what happens. I'm not sure why that's in there. Well, now we've completed them all twice. That's probably why I did something like that. So we have 3 members and 6 completed. Wait, what, really? What? Okay, first of all, this should be less than or equal to. Okay. So we have 15 completed and 14 total. That's bad news. So a guy's probably getting in here twice. So, and it's probably all because I changed that force thing, but I didn't put enough of a note back when I made it about what it's for. So I deserve whatever confusion I have now. So since these must be coming in twice, then probably this one will come twice, right? So first time. No, what? That's bananas. Let's look at what line 21 of preload. So this is type info tag. There's 14 members for sure. And let's go back to decimal for now. 14 are completed. And now we're going to increment this to 15. So I wish I had a shorter enum to do this with, but whatever. Whatever, man. We're just going to find out. Find out how we're getting here twice. My theory. So I checked one of the random declarations, and that didn't do it. So my theory is there's multiple copies of the declaration floating around, which is a thing that could happen. I don't know. Well, all right, so I'm just going to stop there. So integer is being added from number 96. Integer is being added from number 96 again. Oh, right. Okay. Right. So these declarations are each being added. Wait, these declarations are being queued twice? Okay, so float with QS32, float with QS32 also. Why are we calling infer types on the same? Okay, so bool, we return true, we return true, we completed, yes. Oh, because, yeah, it's just got the same declaration in there twice, right? Data 0 queued flattened dot data 1. No, that is not what is happening. Those are different pointers. That's a declaration. That's a literal. Maybe we return false. Ah, ha, 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 ha. Look at this note. Hey, if a declaration is queued, it doesn't end up in its own flattened list for some reason. This seems to have been explicitly done for some reason that we should remember, document, or change, so we have to infer it here. But now the infer may fail, since it falls using assertion stuff, so we check the failure and bail out if needed. So we're explicitly doing it a second time because of that thing that I just changed. Good God. All right. Good thing I commented that thoroughly. All right. All right. Well, now we're back here. We're still at 0 members completed. Okay, so because that was a very scary change, actually, to turn off that force variable, which I still don't know why I did that. I assume that's just a very ancient thing. But now I have to go and comment this out for a minute and just make sure that things still compile otherwise. Because who knows? No, they do not. No, they do not. So maybe this will tell me, ooh, that's a bad one. This is really bad. This is like crashing in the bytecode interpreter. So it's got an address, it's supposed to be a memory address, that's like some buffer offset from a null pointer. Which is a quite unintuitive result from that. Okay. So here's what I'm going to do. This is becoming a very involved thing that I probably shouldn't work on late at night when I'm tired. So I'm going to document what I have done and think about it. For example, the enums enums twice. The problem then is Sokoban crashes when running bytecode if we don't do the force thing. So what is it for? What does it do? A different way, or is it exposing some other bug that has nothing to do with this? I think we should at least generate an internal compiler error. Yeah, so sometimes what I like to do is just let things percolate like that, because all right, there we go. So now we're back to a running state. So I'm just going to leave that whopper of a note, and probably this will get fixed over the next week. There's like 3 sub-problems here. One sub-problem, I mean, as you saw, we descended from problem into problem as we were debugging. But now one of them is just that, like, why is it that if we include a declaration somewhere that this had been guarding, that we just straight up crash? Like, what is even happening there? That shouldn't happen. So that is actually going to be the thing I debug when I pick it back up. Let's do an easy one instead now. Easy one, because I'm getting tired, and we can stop the stream after this. Easy one is there's some flag that goes on lambdas that's called Lambda has a body. Some things don't have bodies. For example, export headers, or like Lambda types that are just function. My window's on the other monitor again. I can't. Like, dude, I explicitly dragged it onto the correct monitor. And I have to turn on this other monitor. Dude, whoever wrote Visual Studio, every single person who ever typed any code into the UI for Visual Studio within the past 10 years is just fired. Just completely. Actually, no, you know what? Starting with that time when they made everything up here capitals, that was when officially there was no more redeeming value whatsoever. So starting from then onward, every single person is fired ever, ever. And never gets a job in programming again, ever. What was I even going to do? Oh, Lambda has a body. So I've got this flag called Lambda has a, let me check in. All right. So I had this idea that instead of marking things as having a body, I really want to mark it as has no body. But now that I think about it, like, that doesn't really matter. For some reason, I thought it was going to make things simpler if I did that. So the question is, why did I think that? Like, in this case, for example, it would just negate the condition. So why do I care about that? Yeah, maybe I don't care about this one. I remember thinking, though, that that could be a good idea, and I don't remember why. It's what happens when you don't work on something for like 2 months. I mean, all of these are just going to invert conditions. The only thing that would happen is the number of places I would have to set has a body. You know, I was probably doing make pre and post main, and I was like, oh, I have to remember to flag these. And it would be better if I didn't. But that's not really, that's only 2 lines. No, that's not. Yeah. I mean, I guess if I make a lot more lambdas. No, I mean, okay, what I should do. So the problem was it was, I remember now, the problem was it was error prone where, you know, I had to make these pre-main and post-main to handle constructors and destructors and global scope correctly. And, you know, to do that, I just was making these lambdas and sticking them in. And I didn't correctly flag them, and it probably took me a while to debug this, which is why I said, oh, well, that'll be better if we negate the flag. We don't really need to negate the flag. What we can do is we can check so if we don't have a body, oh. Okay, the only 2 cases that that should happen when we don't have a body are if it's foreign or it's a type. Okay, assert lambda type defin flags and type definition lambda is foreign, or oh well, or it's this. So really we want to check that maybe. There, of course, for all I know, there's other cases that I'm not thinking of. Let's see if that fires. Yes, it did. Very quickly it fired. Well, what am I forgetting? Line 681 in compiler. Oh. In addition to foreign, there's compile time. Actually, I'm going to reverse the order of those because I just always mention foreign before compile time. All right. Okay. This assert is here to catch cases in which we declare lambdas in C++ code like the pre-main and post-main, but forget to flag them as lambda, which happens and cost me some significant debug time. All right. Well, that's that task off the list. All right. What's going on in chat? you're not, if you still have problems, you're not using enough of them. I don't think I believe that. No, my talk on depression is not going to be anything like that image. All right. Do I think a master's degree in game development would be useful if the course was around PlayStation stuff? What? You can't have a master's degree in PlayStation stuff. I guess you can. I mean, I don't. A master's degree is supposed to be higher education, right? When you say like PlayStation or whatever, that's implementation details. That's not. That's like trade things. And they're useful and valuable trade things to know, but they're also trade things that are guaranteed only to last a couple of years because the next PlayStation will come out later and it's a different thing. So that would be the most nonsensical master's program I ever heard of, but I have no doubt that some university has exactly that program. Interviewing with EA in 2 weeks. Any tips? What are you interviewing for? What are you interviewing for? I'm going to try to bubble to the top some more things. I'm pretty tired, so I might just do a few questions and end the stream. I didn't expect to be this tired tonight, but we'll pick it up maybe tomorrow sometime and do some more of these. Like I want to look into a few of these. This is like a philosophical think about it one. Interviewing for an associate developer position, which is basically programming game mechanics, core engine, and tools libraries, according to job description. Okay, I have never worked at EA, but in general, for a larger company like that, they all kind of want something similar, right? Which is A, knowing that you could actually program. So you want to have examples of games that you've programmed, ideally. And B, knowing that you can dive into an existing code base and understand it and making changes without there being total chaos. So, I mean, I don't know what their interview process looks like, but my interview process for something like that would probably involve showing you some existing code and asking you to modify it in some way or to find a bug in it or something. I don't know. I mean, either you know what you're doing or you don't. So, I don't know. Is the depression talk going to be like the How to Do Deep Games talk on YouTube that I did? No, it's going to be kind of different from that. it's going to be more about specific techniques. It's not going to be a general philosophical talk. If I thought about a read eval print loop like feature for commands while you're at a breakpoint versus has a immediate mode but it's buggy. I don't understand that versus. What is the immediate mode that you're talking about? I mean, first of all, I mean, that's kind of a nonsensical question. Like, all modern debuggers let you call procedures from the debugger, right? So, like, what you're talking about is a standard debugging feature, but I'm not writing a debugger. I'm writing the language. So I'm not sure I get what you're getting at. How to detect cycles in trees. That's very easy, detecting cycles in trees. There's at least 3 basic ways to do it, and which one you want to do depends on what you want the solution to look like in terms of resource usage or generality or whatever. Oh, I see. VS has an immediate mode, but I mean, I'm not writing a debugger, so I don't know what you're asking for. It's like just out of the scope of what I'm doing right now. The technical part wasn't the issue. It was this question about adding a feature to the game you wrote during Game Jam. And they asked you to write the asteroids game space toroidal. Like, how would you go about it? That seems like a pretty reasonable question. That's actually a good question. Two copies of the spaceship is not the best answer, I don't think, but I mean, you could do it that way. The problem there is that you can end up with like 4 copies of a spaceship and then 4 copies of an asteroid if they're near the same corner. And then you're doing like n² comparisons between them. It's just really messy. It's just real messy. Oh, yeah. No, there is a super simple way to handle it. I won't spoiler it for anyone in the chat who wants to think about the problem. Someone says, what's next for the witness? Probably nothing. We're probably working on all new things. We have to do new things eventually, or else we'll never do new things. Right? I mean, people want us to make new games and stuff. You tend to be a notch below others when it comes to your ability to solve such problems. Well, I mean, part of that is just experience. Like if you've thought about spaces that wrap around before, then you just know what to do. I think. I don't know. Do I see the metaprogramming features leading to enhanced debugging relative to existing languages? What is a set of debugging features? I mean, debugging features for the launch is just going to be debugging it with a C++ debugger, which is sub-ideal, but like, look, we can only do so much at once, right? Longer term than that, like I think all existing debuggers stink horribly anyway, and I don't see any point in emulating them. So longer term than that, I would embark on program visualization projects that don't look very much like current debuggers, right? But you know that would be once the language is done enough to sort of go on to a next project step. No, I'm not talking about telemetry. Dude, I've demoed telemetry on this stream, so telling me, oh, telemetry exists is not helpful. Thanks, bro. How much of my problem-solving ability do I think was intrinsic to you when I started programming? I started programming when I was 10 years old, and I don't remember much before that, so I can't tell you. I can't tell you. Well, I don't know. I mean, it is true that there's this mental aptitude of seeing connections. And I'm not sure, I would like to think that that's trainable and something you can learn. I don't actually know whether it is or not. Certainly seeing more examples helps because, you know, when you have a lot of examples to bring to bear, you can go back to things that you've seen and you can draw analogies from them. And so the more that you practice, the more things you'll have seen in the past, right? The question is, like you seem to be going on about this as if to make the case that there's some basic mental action that you're not good at. And I don't know, maybe that's true and maybe it's not true. I don't know enough about that kind of a thing. Like there are people who study intelligence and who study specific instances of intelligence to great detail, and they could probably say something about that. It's not really my department. I do think that if you don't definitely know that that's a thing, in your case, that it might be a little bit defeatist to assume that there's a skill you don't have versus just working out more, right? I think working out more is always a good idea, regardless. Someone's saying, can I explain the issue at hand? I'm just answering questions at this point, because I'm pretty tired. I just did a bunch of random, I was more like warming up and debugging some small things in the compiler, and one of those small things ended up in it being a much bigger issue. So I made a large note about the issue, and I'm going to go back into it later. And so now I'm just answering sort of post-stream questions at this point. any short-term plans on making the compiler interact with the editor, like the editor invoking the compiler while you're editing code so you can have errors while you're typing. No, like I don't like any of that errors while you're typing garbage. Like Visual Studio has that, and I hate it because it's laggy and there's just so much information on the screen that my brain filters it out anyway just to try to do things. And of course there's going to be errors while you're typing because you're not done typing yet. You know, like, oh, you don't type things out linearly the way you think about them. You might start using a variable and think to yourself, oh, I'm going to go back and declare that variable. I don't want a big red siren popping up going undeclared variable, right? And part of the reason all these IDEs seem to feel the need to do this is because their compile times are very slow anyway. If your compile time is 1 second or under, then it's like not slower to just do it, right? So this, I really am anti all of this just-in-time error reporting stuff. It's horrible. And all the things in Visual Studio that come along with it, I just really dislike. They reduce my morale in the system rather than helping me. And if somebody could show me an example of this stuff that actually works well, I'd be interested. Because I think in the limit, there is some idea of augmenting your code writing process that might make sense, but what I've seen in any IDE is not it. I think they're all terrible. I think IDEs should get out of that business completely, and everybody who does them should get fired. Yeah, just keep practicing and making games and you get better at it. Like, that's just how it is. Like, I don't know when you started, right? But like I said, I started when I was 10 years old, or actually probably when I was 9 years old. Like late 9-year-old. No, it was 6th grade, so I was 10. But you know, I probably wasn't that good. If you'd asked me after I'd been programming for a year or two how to make asteroids toroidal, I probably wouldn't give you a good answer necessarily. I don't know, because it was a long time ago, but I probably wouldn't have. Whereas after I've been programming for 35 years, it's not an exaggeration, that's how long I've been programming, I could give you a better answer. So, yeah. Does the pointer work the same as in C? Are there any improvements? You have to watch previous streams for that. I don't want to just recap redundant things. Yeah, I mean, maybe there is a better way to do this check your code as you type thing. I'm pretty sure there probably is. But I can't do every single research project at once, right? Like, making a compiler and a good game that you can ship commercially in that language at the same time is already, like, when I started this language, most people were saying, oh, you can't even make a C++ replacement. That's crazy. And I said, no, it's not crazy. And I'll make a game in it at the same time just to show how not crazy it is, right? But that's way beyond what most people expect is possible to begin with. So I kind of have to draw the line somewhere. So I'm drawing the line there, right? I'm not going to also do research in totally new ways to debug programs yet as well. I mean, that's a very good thing to do, and I might do it later, but you just can't do too many things at once, or you never get anything done. Or the things that you do don't end up good. Yeah, I was 10 in the 6th grade. I mean, I was born in November, right? So, and I started, I think I started 1st grade when I was 4. Maybe I started kindergarten when I was 4, and I was like 11 in 6th grade. I don't know, I could back solve it, right? Like I was 17 when I graduated high school still, right? So I would have been 18 in the 13th grade if that existed, right? So in the 6th grade, what did I just say? 18 in the 13th grade. In the 6th grade, I would have been 18 months. Oh, I guess I would have been 11. All right. I guess, okay, I've been only programming for 34 years then. Something like that. Do I think PUBG needs static maps for esports competition, or does that kind of ruin the spirit of the game? I think that kind of ruins the spirit of the game. Sokoban is going to be open source, right? It's going to be mostly open source, yeah. It's not going to be open source enough that someone can just release it and clone exactly the same game with all the levels, but it'll be like, here's a reasonable block pushing game that you get all the source to and you can just use. There are other people working on the compiler, but I probably still do the majority of the work. So things slowed down the past couple months, but didn't completely stop. But there were no like major new features over the past couple months. It was mostly like maintenance and improvements. All right, I'm getting tired. I'm gonna go to bed. Thanks everyone for coming by. I'll probably do another stream tomorrow where I look into some of these things at the top now, and then maybe we'll go back to this one and try and investigate what that whole force thing is about. Like the next step would probably be to set a breakpoint in that force, set a data break or some kind of add an if statement to there to make sure we're not in a declaration that belongs to an enum, and then see in what cases that kicks in and like selectively, like I want to figure out why that's there because it's a complication that I'd prefer to remove. And so the question is, why is it happening? I mean, I presume what's happening is some declaration is getting inferred too early, and that's causing a code generation error. But that's a very brittle problem, and I don't like the sound of it, and it should be handled in a better way, probably. I could also do like an SVM blame on that line and see where it came from. So that might be an alternate way to do it. All right, everybody. See you later.